It's now 1 week since the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, lifted the ban on campaigns. 83 days to the 2019 general election. Campaigns are in full swing. Good afternoon and welcome to Standpoint. I'm Ayodele Ozubaku. I'm standing in for your regular anchor, Veronica Dan Ikpoyi. I have with me to discuss the 2019 elections and the matters arising a lawyer and a political analyst, Libros Oshoma, my very good friend. Libros, pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, Ayo.
And I also have our senior researcher here in Television Continental, Mr. Cyril Abako.
Thank you, I am glad to be here.
All right, welcome. Now, on February the 16th, 2019, Nigerians will head to the polls to vote for a presidential candidate of their choice. On the list of those vying for the country's top job is the incumbent president, Muhammadu Buhari, former vice president, Atiku Abubakar, a former Cross River State governor, that's Donald Duke, and former education minister, Obi Ezekwesili, former CBN deputy governor, that's Kingsley Moghalu, and others on the list, there are like 34. These candidates have flagged off their campaigns using both traditional and online media, just as President Muhammadu Buhari unfolded his next level agenda in Abuja on Sunday last week. Atiku Abubakar uploaded his policies documents to get Nigeria working again on Facebook. But stakeholders have called on politicians to engage in issue-based campaigns. Would this be the case, or would politicians go on jamboree as we have seen over the time? Gentlemen, this is very, very serious, and let's get Nigeria working again and taking us to the next level. The two frontliners, while Muhammadu Buhari did his own on Sunday, Atiku Abubakar actually, was actually on Facebook Live. We saw his own. They said the aim and objective was geared towards targeting the youths. So, and we traditional media had to upload it to get it on board. Now, when you look at the number of aspirants, the number of candidates we have, and the choice Nigerians will have to make, do you think that these two dominant political parties, do you think they have a kind of head start already ahead of the smaller parties that people will tell you that in terms of structure, in terms of reach, in terms of war chest, they might not?
Yeah, you said it already. It's unfortunate we are where we are, and so we can't run away from it. American, with a population of 300 and something million, had two dominant parties, have two dominant political parties, and about 2 or 3 fringe parties, not these multiple parties that you have. And then, ditto, the UK, you can say, it's smaller, you have the Liberal Democrats also, a little to the right, a little to the left. But here, one would have expected, that, yes, now we'll gradually, in 1979 to 1983, we had 5, and later became 6, dominant political parties that had, they all had their strength in their regions, because at that time also, gravitating from the First Republic, you still had, political parties who had regional strength. You had the UPN, you had NPN, you had the GMPP, you had MPP, you had NAP later came on board, So, but now, what you have is that really you can identify the parties with region. You can also identify them with ideology. We all know that, and so it is easy to navigate. But over time, at a point, we all know that it was strictly PDP, even though we started with 3 dominant political parties. But because of this lack of politics of opposition, the moment the political party won election, everybody gravitated towards that party. And so that almost killed the other 2 opposition parties, apart from one that, seemingly, reared its head from the West and eventually was able to put others together that formed APC. And so today you had two dominant parties. And the way we run Nigeria is almost like a big local government where the president is the chairman and, you know, dispenses favor. And so now you see almost everybody wants to be president. Even people ordinary who you feel should go to the National Assembly, who would, you know,
or House of Rep,
or House of Rep, you know, all of them
Assembly.
wants to be president. And so we so ridicule that office to that level that, you know, you have 90-something political parties now, you have 30-something presidential aspirants, and some of them, you know, you can't even mention them. You forget. You know, like when you mentioned Donald Duke, I was like, oh, is he still contesting? Really, I must say this. And so that's why now you have, it's like the two dominant parties. At the local level, they have, you know, local government councillors, they have local government chairmen, they have governors. So they have structures from that level. So it's almost like a head start. It's, you know, so when people discuss, it's either you are discussing PDP or you are discussing APC. So the others really, it's almost impossible to, you know, put them in contest. So that's why I think no matter how bad it is, no matter how bad these two pools are, we will need to go in at some point and find a way, you know, of also, you know, making a difference. That's the only way. If you think you can stay out of the forest and make a difference in the forest, it's not going to be possible.
Some people will say PDP and APC, that it's almost the same party. That those that served in PDP predominantly yesterday, they are members, prominent members of APC right now. And some will say we have very, very sound presidential candidates. You know, if you listen to Kingsley Moghalu speak, if you listen to Obi Ezekwesili speak, but it's as if when you want to look at in terms of numerical strength, and if I'm not a soothsayer, but if the results should come tomorrow now, if you see the number of votes that accrue to those, don't forget Fela Durotoye is still in this race. People like Fela Durotoye, he launched his own campaign in Ajegunle. It started, I think, on Monday.
My friend Victor Ohai also.
Victor Ohai is still there. So, what do we have facing us for February 16, 2019?
Well, Ayo, let me even begin by saying that in the first instance, when we look at the two dominant parties, for instance, that have told us what, you know, what their plans are, there is a subtle acquiescence from both camps that Nigeria is somewhere, but that's not all where she ought to be. Next level admits that we're somewhere, but that we need to go better than, you know, go higher than where we are. Get us working again means that something is bad where we currently are, and that we need to get. So the question of Nigeria not being a finished product yet is accepted across board. I believe that when you look at the programs of the other contestants as well, you would see them saying this thing. So, but the fundamental issue is that for me, like where you drop the ball on me, the fact remains that, you see, none of these parties up until now has convincingly or even strategically distinguish themselves ideologically, or distinguish in terms of the policy, distinguish themselves substantially in a way that Nigerians can say this party particularly differs from the rest. He was talking about the 5 parties of the Second Republic. There was the UPN. The UPN was, I mean, today we talk about minimum wage, we talk about free education, we talk about free healthcare. All the states that are adopting these policies owe it to the thoroughness, the sagacity, and the ideologies of a man like Obafemi Awolowo. Because this was a man who, in those days, he was derided. But today, most of those core policies that define the AG and the UPN have become national. So what are we talking about?
The free education, cardinal
program.
Yes. I think why we are concerned, AY, is fundamentally the fact that whereas our parties, even the big parties, if you take away the war chest, something tells me that the numbers that they command, but from grassroots to state to national, will desert them.
Yes.
And so we have we don't have parties, actually. I'm sorry to say, we don't have what, in the clear sense of the word, you'd call a party. Donald Trump disrupted the Republican establishment, took the party ticket, and still won an election. Which means that those parties have no garrison commanders. If you come on board the party, the structure belongs to the party, not to people, okay, in the party who have money. So you look at the fact that The reason why some of these fringe candidates may not be able to win, even when they are sound, even when they are eloquent, even when they are very visionary, is because we have not yet evolved the vehicles that can help in taking people from nowhere to wherever it is that they can get by merit. You can look at INEC, for instance. Some weeks ago, I think it was Daily Trust newspaper that carried the banner headline and said, there is concern over the fact that INEC's website has very scant information. And so voters are you see, because you cannot practice democracy without education, without citizen education. And so we are practicing a democracy where the people who should be driving the process are daily being disempowered, are daily being indirectly disenfranchised. And so the voter comes up, if you give him money, he will vote. We are talking about minimum wage. The people who at least have the understanding to look at the ballot paper and interpret it to say, okay, this is party PDP and this is party SDP without assistance, have some level of education, whether formal or informal, at least they know who they want to vote for. What I'm saying is that these people are workers, either at the local government level or state level, and at a time when you're paying your workers 18,000 and you're even dragging whether you should pay them 30 or not, and we are heading into a time of extreme financial exposure, and you are still hoping that people are going to vote based on principles and ideology when their stomachs are singing a different tune. So I think that what we need to do, first of all, is to say there are institutions that must convey or that must be the harbingers of democratic civility. Who are they? Where are they? And how do we make sure that, they live up to their billing? We can sing the praises and the programs of certain candidates whom I personally know have the material. And if the Benzena claims, look, they will not be seeking to serve. Nigeria will go to them and say, please come and serve. But in our climate, it's an entirely different ball game. And so there is a conspiracy. There is a grand conspiracy to keep some people out. Now, you look at Obeze Kwesili, you look at Kingsley Moghalu, you look at somebody like even Donald Duke. Liboros, you know that about 10 years ago, these people were, shall I call them minions? They were foot soldiers of the political establishment.
Yeah.
But maybe because they hoped that eventually with the involvement in the process, things will get better. But they have seen it now that the more they look, the less they see. And the more they participate, the less it becomes possible for them to make change. And so they've pulled out.
Let me go to Libros now. Libros, let's look at the role of money. Yesterday, I was looking at the the Electoral Act and giving cap for the president 5 billion naira and for governorship 1 billion naira. But realistically, when you look at what is on ground now, as at 2015, somebody was telling me that, look, if you want to be a presidential candidate and you're a serious presidential candidate, that you need to have agents in 120,000 polls across the country.
Polling
units across the country. And let's say you have to give each of your agents 20,000 naira to man your votes. So let's look at the critical role.
I was in America recently, just before the midterm elections. All you hear around is, I'm a volunteer for this, I'm a volunteer for that. And so the spirit of volunteering is very encouraged. And then also, it becomes, if you have volunteered...
When there's hunger.
Exactly. So if you have volunteered for an organization, it becomes part of your resume. And that even when you're looking for a job, you say, I was a volunteer for, or that you have been involved in, what we call NGOs operations here, volunteer jobs. And if you remember, Obama graduated with a first class from Harvard. Before he became the editor of Harvard Law Review, he went and was doing community service. While his mates were working in high streets, he was doing he was a volunteer for community service. He had, a projection. So he needed to. But here, what we have is, because once you are a politician, recently we were studying, constituency projects of members of House of Rep. And we discovered that so many of these projects, monies were collected but never executed. And so when election comes, These are people who you are supposed to empower. You go back to them because they are so hungry. In some of the communities, they don't even have access to roads. So not to talk of lights, not to talk of even watching TV to understand that, look, this project was allocated to their area. And so when you have such hunger, nobody will want to volunteer for you after they know that you have collected so much on their behalf. And so when election comes like this, the belief is that once I can spend money for, all of these agents, I must pay them. But otherwise, ordinarily, if you had empowered them, you don't expect me now to be an agent of a political party and you say on that day you'll give me 20,000 or 50,000. I would rather volunteer for you. But because we know that we have impoverished these people who want to use as agents, so you say, okay, we are recruiting agents. And so part of these funds that you're using, you see it as, campaign expenses. It's a business fund. So when you win, you want to recoup back. And that's why if you look at the provisions of Section 92 of the Electoral Act, it says very germane, election expense of a political party shall be submitted to the commission in a separate audited return within 6 months after an election, and such return shall be signed by the political party auditor, countersigned by chairman, and supported by a sworn affidavit. And if you go further, it says also these election expenses shall be published by the commission. So that the rest of us will go see how money came for campaign and then how they were spent. But here, nobody discusses how campaign funds were spent. And so once that is missing, it becomes difficult for you to monitor election expenses. As far back as 2010, an aspirant once told us that for you to be a senator, you will spend as much as 2 billion naira in Nigeria. And so you spend 2 billion naira to become a senator, you go there, it's not a tea party. You have invested. I know some people who sold their houses because they want to go into politics. It's very lucrative for them. But also, it is us and them. And that's why, Siri, I was saying that we can't sit back and say, oh, look, it is not working. Do you know the way we troop to camp every last Friday, every first Friday of the month? If all of us troop in to register for a political party like that, do you know that on the day of primaries even if you say you want to do indirect, it will be difficult for you to maneuver the entire people. It will also be difficult for you on the day of election to say that, look, we all are members of this party. For one person to begin to determine. That's why a Donald Trump or an Obama could win election in America. But here, what do? We sit back and we look and we say, oh, these people, it is them. And then also, some of these aspirants, some of these, fantastic aspirants we talked about, you don't hear of them immediately after the election. Until 6 months to another election, they all spring up and looking for one political party to belong to. And that's, how do you reconnect with such people? It becomes difficult for the people to reconnect with them. I will say this, look at Jimmy Agbaje, for example. Jimmy Agbaje, after the last election, he gave the incumbent governor in Lagos State a run for his money. One would have expected that after that election, the man, you consolidate on those grounds, you play the role of a shadow cabinet. And then you begin also, there are people who believed in you, who believed in your policy, how it can be better. What was his position on the land use charge in Lagos? Nobody heard from him. What was his position on the waste management in Lagos? Nobody heard from him. And a few months to the election, he springs up. He wants to become a governor. How will people monitor, such persons? So that's why it is difficult for us to have serious-minded people, even among this fringe party, to contend with even the serious candidate. And then we now begin to oscillate between, two devils. 3 years ago, nobody would have talked about Atiku. But today, all of a sudden, it's a beautiful bride because you look around, you say, who can give the incumbent a run for its money?
I think it's all about the people. I think he's, by asking you, in terms of political participation, in terms of youth awareness, in terms of people, very determined. There was a time that the movement, not too young to run, they were able to get that bill in the National Assembly, got Mr. President to sign it, and immediately everything, the momentum was high then, but everything has come down now. Now, when you look at the likes of Shure, he has been going from the length and breadth of the country, campaigning and everything. But don't you think if our youths or a certain set of people say, okay, let me open a GoFundMe account, let's confront, the status quo. I have not seen a movement for this 2019 election.
None. Ewa, it's a tough one.
Let me quickly pick Eric. Eric is calling us from Lagos. Thank you for joining us, Eric.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Eric.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Yes, go ahead with your contribution, Eric.
Okay. I want to say that the problem we are facing concerning our electioneering program. Good afternoon. Yeah, good afternoon.
Go ahead, Eric.
I want to quickly say this. That the problem we are facing concerning our...
Eric, you are listening to yourself.
Okay. That the problem we are really facing with the electioneering process in Nigeria is quite enormous. The level of education in this country is still very, very low.
Yeah.
Illiteracy level is a major factor because those who are supposed to understand what it means to participate in election, the larger population, their education level is very low. And as a matter of fact, I could say it's a deliberate ploy by those who run the country to keep it at that level. So,
thank you, Eric. I said the kind of movement we saw, let's say in 2014, when APC, when CPC, ANPP, ACN came together, fused together, and by this time you could see that movement.
Great moment.
The movement. I've not seen anything.
I think some of these things are built on nuances which we particularly may not see physically on the surface. But the fact is that a political movement is a capital-intensive project. And somebody must be somewhere. Somebody must be somewhere actually willing to pay the price. Now, for the youth, you see, there is a disconnect between what political parties. The party is only a house. Let's say is a ship, but it has to ride on waves, and so and there can be so many ships on the sea. Maybe it takes a skillful sailor to take his own ship to shore early in time. But what I'm trying to say is that between getting a structure, a party, or a vehicle of that nature, and connecting with the people who should vote, or connecting with those who should translate the vision of that party into reality, sometimes that journey can take almost as long as eternity. Let me give an example. You see, voting psychology, and again, it varies. If what you want to contest for is House of Assembly, what you want to contest for is House of Reps, if you want to run for presidency, I hope you know that somebody in the South here can speak all the English he likes. But voter psychology, what makes the Northern youth vote, less in the Northwest, in Katsina, or even in the Northeast, in Adamawa, or in the North Central, in other places, the psychology of voters can be so different that what you do here and what you do there will be two different things. And you also need to realize that, you see, most of our young people in the South here who are campaigning and running for presidency perhaps do not have the rightful soldiers, or have not themselves sat down to actually understand how politics realistically works in the country. I spoke with a youth leader in a particular political party, and I said, at this age, why haven't you contested for office? He said, well, in his party, the godfather dictates what happens and what does not happen. And I was thinking, what will it take this young man to say, look, I am capable, I am competent, I am courageous, I have the character, and I'm bold enough to pull out and make a move. He does not have a job. It is his political affiliation that guarantees monthly stipends. He is guaranteed that as long as he's a mobilizer for the thieves, he will have a monthly take home. If he says he wants to go and join civil service, they can send him that to take 18,000 naira per month. He has a wife, he has 3 children. So there are certain economic realities that the reason why I will commend those young men who fought for Not Young to Run is because at least for once, Nigerian youth could come together to deliver a particular thing. You see, when the war is on, you have to choose these battles to fight. Delivering on Not Young to Run is good. maybe the fruit of it may even come in the next 2 or 3 election cycles. But at least they've delivered something. So I think that the process, if we think that we are going to get it right in 1 day, in 1 month, in 1 year, we're deceiving ourselves. But I think that taking these steps one at a time is good. Now, I also wouldn't be surprised if before February, as a matter of fact, some of these, I don't know whether they are fringe or they are just around parties. You hear them say 10 candidates have come together to coalesce and say that they're stepping now for either Buhari or Atiku.
Exactly.
Liberals. You see,
that's
our pain. And these are people that you are saying, I think the way this man speaks, I want to go with him. And then you realize at the 11th hour that he has been moving, all the English has been speaking, and everything has been fighting for.
Okay.
Has been about himself, perhaps.
Siri, you
Liberals,
said something.
Let me just quickly take this breather. When we come back, we continue our discussion. It's a standpoint. Please stay with us. Welcome back. Even when we were on break, the studio was still, bubbling and so much alive. And Cyril, before we went on that break, you wanted to round up on your point?
Yes, I was saying that, you see, after you might have invested some kind of hope in a particular candidate, and Liberals was making this point during the break, 2 weeks of the election, he comes out and says that somebody has reached out to him, obviously, and they've asked him, how much have you spent in your campaign? He says, I've spent 500 million. Somebody says, okay, I'll give you 600 or 700. And I'll make a minister. Support me. He takes the money in the night, and then he transfers the structure, all the supporters, to that person. Then in the morning, he comes and makes a national broadcast and says that he has seen that in the interest of national unity and cohesion, it would be better to achieve those dreams he wants to achieve through that other candidate. I haven't seen that.
Why did you think the not too young, the momentum, was slowed down?
Yeah, because he was set to achieve a purpose that had been achieved.
Yeah.
To at least reduce the age. It wasn't set to achieve a longer purpose.
Like a youth party, like the youth forming a particular political party and take over
it wasn't
government.
set to achieve that purpose. And that's why you find out that some members of the National Assembly rode on it, for their selfish interests. You also saw Saraki talking about not too young to run.
Declared via their platform.
Via their platform, and then it was almost as if, some people now started wondering, are there unseen hands that nobody is seeing? Is there anybody bankrolling this? And then also, finally, when they paid the president a courtesy visit, the president said, yes, fantastic, but hold on your ambition because I still want to go. So, and that killed that idea.
Well,
or he suspended
the
it.
Momentum was reduced considerably.
And then you now begin to you hear people say, oh, how can the youth run when the nomination form actually is at that level? One would have expected, like I had always said, look, the way we troop to churches, AY, come to my area on Sunday in Bagada.
Oh, I know.
Between 11:30 and 1, it will be locked down completely with troops coming to church.
Different churches in that axis.
And then also, first Friday of the month or last Friday of the month, heaven bless you if you are traveling out of Lagos. As one is finishing, the other one is starting. Redeem is finishing, Mountain of Fire is starting. We're entering December now. You will get Shiloh also. The way we troop to go beg God for the solution that he has given to us, the way we troop there, if we also leave, now we leave the political parties, forgetting that it is through those platforms that you can determine who will make policies for you, whether you even go to church or go to mosque. And then secondly, you say, go get your PVC, go get your PVC. If you have 12 political party and you have 12 Mumu aspirants, you're going to choose from those 12. So that's why leadership, like my older cousin, Clem Agbai, Honorable Clem Agbai, was a commissioner in Edo State, told me, he said, look, until all of us realize the importance of these political parties that, look, I did not necessarily for you,
cool.
but it's a vehicle. Wait, let me quickly finish. Not necessarily for you to vie for a political office, but also to make your input. There are people who are waiting. I get calls every day. Is there a movement that we can join where we can listen to you often? There are people who are waiting to hear from you. Do you know that if you belong... From you, seriously, and then from me, from Ayo. You know, because some of us that have have the benefit of this knowledge that we have, there are so many, out of every one Nigerian, you have 100 people out there who do not have that benefit. And so we are so selfish. We sit back and we say, no, I don't want to be involved. And so you now have those who dare to be involved because, according to you, lack of job. And then they sit down there until one godfather says, yes, it's your turn now. And the man goes there. What he knows is he gets there, he's going to eat. Okay. But if you had been involved in the process, you would have been able to educate some people to tell them that, look, it's not about eating. And so that's why, for me, I think the only way we can change it is if all of us, we sit down and decide to be involved. I was in London, and on the streets of Liverpool, people were with membership form. They massive recruitment drive for political parties. Okay, but here you hardly hear parties recruiting members.
Let's quickly pick Adeyemi's call. It's calling from Lagos. Thank you for joining us, Adeyemi.
Good afternoon, sir.
Yes, go ahead with your contribution, please.
I think that I just want to agree with Mr. Labaros.
Yes, Libros.
Labaros, I'm sorry for the wrong pronunciation.
It's okay.
Saying that the opposition themselves are not even doing anything to help the nation. Just like the example of Jimmy Agbaje Ike. It's every 4 years he come on, and he's a good candidate, but as soon as he did not win, he go back and go and sleep. Nothing. They are not saying anything. And then they want to come out and want to say that Nigeria is not good for it. This person cannot do it. This person cannot do it. And the example of the church that is going to, people have to go to somewhere to calm them down. It's not for the churches in Nigeria. A lot of people could have gone insane. So this period that we are in now, that the election is coming, who are we going to pick? Is it Atiku or Buhari? People are saying Buhari is not doing anything. To me, I'm a Buhari person. I see that Buhari is doing something, but there are a lot of problems in this nation that before something we can see that someone is doing anything, that person would have almost lost his life.
Thank you, Adeyemi, for that contribution. And let's look at the scorecard of President Muhammadu Buhari since 2015. When he assumed office, he promised to end Boko Haram insurgency, fix the economy, and fight corruption. How well has he performed in these areas to deserve a second term in office? Cyril? President Buhari is talking about laying foundation, and
next level.
Yes, yes. Let's assume in the first 4 years he has laid that foundation, and it's about time to move to the next level. And from what you've seen and the feedback, and from those things they promised in 2015, how well have they executed?
I thought you'd go to Liboros first, because obviously he's demonstrating so much zeal. Perhaps he thought it was coming to him. But let me say that I think it's a mixed report. Quite frankly, it's a mixed report. Personally, the president might have come in with the best of intentions and meant indeed to act to the best of his ability. I remember that in the first 6 months of coming to power in 2015, I think, he doled out about $50 million or so to Chad. That was when Boko Haram, and then security was top on his agenda. We also saw when the command and control center was moved to Maiduguri. That was some months after Jonathan had actually established, I think, a division there as well. to consolidate the effort against Boko Haram. But Boko Haram now seems to be more resilient, more dogged, more sophisticated, even more evasive than we ever thought they could be. Clearly, we've not defeated Boko Haram. If by that we were even going to score the security performance of the president, I do not think that he has achieved even as much as he personally would have wanted to achieve.
But they succeeded in stabilizing the situation for some months, and it's escalating now.
Well, I mean, if assuming that he was to do only 4 terms, he was to do just a single term of 4 years, it would seem that
This is the wrong time.
Yes, and then again, your last action, you're as good as your last action. So I think that we need to do a lot more in the area of Boko Haram. That is one, security. If you even look at the issue of kidnapping across the country, you look at
we no longer discuss kidnapping.
Yes, baby factories and so on. The reports are in no way flattering. That is one. Number 2, on the question of the economy, I think that we didn't wake up early to the reality that we needed to work on the economy. In the U.S. model, where you have the National Security Organization or Council or so, you also have an economic equivalent which came into being, I think, after the tenure of Franklin Delano Roosevelt. But here, Buhari, there was the NSA. There was the National Security Council, which Dazuki was there when he came on board, but there was no equivalent of an economic council. And the delay in appointing ministers and so on, the economy didn't quite stabilize early enough. So I'm not surprised when people say that we've become what's it called, that there are more people in Nigeria today than anywhere else in the world. So I think we need to pay more attention to the economy as well. And then the other one was the issue of economic security and corruption. You see, I think there was a misdefinition of what corruption is in Nigeria. And so you look at the EFCC, they will say today that they have prosecuted about 700 and something cases in the past 3 years. We are not saying that they are not prosecuting people. The faces
including some commercial transactions.
Listen before you see. But really, the real faces of corruption in this country are working free.
Okay, let me halt you there. Now, Atiku Abubakar did 8 years with Olusegun Obasanjo, and it was believed that he was manning the economy. He manned the economy for some time when he was the chairman of Privatization Council and chairman even of Economic Council and everything. And a lot of people see some people see the People's Democratic Party that, for us to say goodbye in 2015, and in 4 years, in less than 4 years' time, they seem to be the favorites in terms of opposition.
Yeah.
That's, they want to bounce back. Now, do you think Nigerians can easily forgive the People's Democratic Party?
You see, let me start from where we were in 1999. We were almost the civilian government of General Olusegun Obasanjo almost inherited a comatose country. Remember where the position we were with Abacha, Abdulsalami came, just tried to, conduct a transition, and then Olusegun Obasanjo came. And for Olusegun Obasanjo, that government was, there were a lot of lapses, so many, but they were able to navigate us away from where we were. That from that point, Nigeria, for the first time in a long while, became, a developing country. That some of the grants we were getting, were no longer coming because people felt, look, Nigeria, is on its footing now. And so there was need, to concentrate on poorer countries. And, also we had debt forgiveness and, all of those things. But then Obasanjo realized that, he left a lot of things undone. In his attempt, he thought 8 years was Eldorado. And then towards the end of 8 years, he wanted a tenure elongation, which didn't work. And we all saw the mess that was made of, what Goodluck Jonathan inherited, unfortunately for the death of Yaradua, the policy reversal. And then, coming to 2015, Nigerians were tired. And they felt, look, for the first time, you had a coalition of fringe parties coming together to say, look, as advised by Balarabe Musa, that look, for you to make inroad, you need to come together to wrestle power from the behemoth called PDP then. And typical of the average Nigerian politician, the moment PDP lost election, almost all of them started jumping ship. And that is why it is difficult for you now to just label PDP as corrupt. Because they are going to tell you that, yes, we agreed. Some of the people that were with us are even currently serving in people that spent 13 years in those days of, you talk about corruption here, and now even, in the cabinet of the current government. So how do you now begin to create a divorce between both parties without, having, you can't, it's like what's, you can't say it's like Professor Ashburner's fluvial metaphor, that they don't mix their waters. The waters are mixed. Is it from the same? In fact, they drop from the same. They drop from the same pool. And so that's why, like I said, Nigerians now are beginning to look at what were we promised. Like Siri said, APC overpromised and underperformed. And one would have expected in 2001, Obasanjo, remember pre-1999, he said, if he steps in 200 days in office, power failure will be a thing of the past. And then he got to office and he started saying, look, I didn't know the problems were this enormous. And the question was, why didn't you investigate before you started making those promises? And so those were the same questions people started asking APC. Some of you were already in government. And so you have the benefit of hindsight. Saudi Arabia, when the price of oil was plummeting, Saudi Arabia came with a proposal that, look, even if the price dropped to as low as $10, and they were still good to go. One would have expected also that, as a political party that was serious, there should be projections. What if it doesn't go this way? But it was clear that nobody was thinking. I also had the opportunity of listening to Professor Patu Tome. He said they had what they call an action a day, 30 days plan. The first 30 days in government. But when the government took over, all of those plans were jettisoned. And so, rather than hitting the ground running, they touched the ground and started running away from the ground. And that's why now, people you couldn't touch with long pole 3 years ago, all of a sudden are now the beautiful bride. It is not about, no matter how you sing that song of, oh, PDP is corrupt, PDP is corrupt, people are going to ask you, I can see Babache Lawa, I can see Oshomole, I can see Ganduje, and what happens to all of those people? And that's the unfortunate part of, the ruling party, where people now, when you point to 2 people from PDP, they are going to point to 4.
They equalize.
They will equalize by pointing 4 in your party. And that's why I still believe that all of us, until all of us become part of the process, and then begin to insist. Imagine, I know there are some people in both parties who do not subscribe to the things that are happening. But because they are in the minority, it will be difficult for them to make a change. But if they have more people, more voices, it will be easy for them to speak out and say, no, we won't take this. Yes, this man is a member of our party, but we don't want a situation where you'll be painting the party bad. Not just like what is happening in the Republican. There are so many Republicans who are daily criticizing, the actions and policies of Trump. So, but here, it's almost as if you are in PDP, everything APC is bad, except PDP. If you're in APC, everything PDP is bad. Meanwhile, these are the same people. It's just like a club. You score a goal today, you kiss the badge. And then the next day, you are moving into another club, you are kissing the same badge. It becomes very funny.
Okay, but moving to the mainstream media now is trying to entrench a debate culture in our political space. In the Western world, debates are avenues for candidates to sell themselves and their ideas to voters. If it's most times shapes the voting pattern. Now, in 2019 presidential election is just around the corner, and there are plans for a presidential debate. How much impact will it have on the voting pattern of our people? In Ondo State, there was a debate. Arakunrin Akeredolu did not attend. He won the election. Where else? We've had, debates organized by television stations, debates organized by, NGO.
In Anambra,
in Anambra,
people that didn't perform well in debate won elections.
People that did not even
some didn't
attend at all. Now, this says something about, debates. And when you look at the way they look forward to American debates in America, where you are going to sell your policies and how they are going to, that way, the next day, you see projection. After that debate, you see, prospects rising up, voting prospects and everything. But in Nigeria here, the Nigerian Debate Group, the broadcast organization of Nigeria, they've said the vice presidential debate will come sometimes in December. And January 19th, thereabout, for the presidential debates. Olusegun Obasanjo did not attend debates. I doubt if Yar'Adua attended.
Yar'Adua didn't attend.
Debates.
Goodluck Jonathan 2011 didn't attend.
Buhari 2015 also didn't.
Yes,
Buhari 2015 didn't attend.
And I don't have any certainty that the president is going to attend this particular debate. And how does that impact?
I'll begin from the end. I think it's a good development that a board chairman has now said that after this year's engagement, the debate, they're going to send a national presidential debate, I think bill also, to the National Assembly to make to legislate and give it a broad policy framework, hopefully to compel whoever is running for president to actually attend. That is one. Number two, in the US, like Libero said earlier, there are fringe parties which don't participate in the debates. Maybe so perhaps there are criteria that can also be used to say who should come and who should not come. So if we're going to have 10,000 presidential candidates, they don't just come and flood the place and Nigerians get inundated and they don't know what they're going to do. But I think that if you are actually an accountable person, that is, if you believe in accountability and transparency, a debate should be the first step to being accountable to Nigerians. That is one. If we are talking about the reason why, people don't attend debates and they win elections, it's an entirely different ball game. The fact is this, you see why. What compels or what finally informs the voter's decision? That is where votes actually count to what makes the voter finally decide that he's going to thumb in for candidate A,
be the policies
and not candidate B.
It might not be the programs.
It may be money. It may be what he calls me on phone to ask, Siri, whom do I vote for? These people, they are saying so many things. And I say, okay, mass we call it the two-step flow, the multi-step flow, where people depend on opinion leaders to make the decisions.
Yeah.
And what the debates for me do is that they enable the informed class or the liberal class to now properly look at the convergences and divergences, make opinions that will now permeate down the line to voters who depend on such people to make their decisions to vote. That is so. It is important that they come out. You see, you cannot continue to act aloof. You cannot continue to look down on debates and make it look like if you had an advantage or the edge in the electoral process, you won't go for the debates. That must come to an end. You know why? Because leadership is hinged on a number of things. A leader's ability to speak and articulate his ideas is fundamental, because he will engage in foreign policy, he will engage in diplomacy, he will engage in negotiations. A leader should be able to speak and articulate his ideas in a way that is concise and comprehensible to people who he's going to work with. So they must attend those debates.
Okay, let me pause you there.
Yeah.
Libros.
You see, the debate culture, it started from somewhere and we're like, we don't debate here, we don't debate here. But gradually you're seeing that it is gradually taking a foothold on, and people in Nigeria now look forward to those debates. People are glued to their TV. They want to actually watch the debate. And yes, for every good thing at the beginning, it might look very unattractive that those that didn't participate will win. But as we grow, you discover that debates very soon will form, the fulcrum of how people will determine your policy direction. And also, because at campaign grounds, there are no opportunity to interact with you. It is either PDP or APC, and they shout the slogan. And so nobody asks you a question. You talk to the people. But at debates, you are asked questions and there are follow-up questions. You interact. And people have opportunity also to send in questions. And so gradually, it is taking a foothold. And the board chairman also, who had been part of most of the debates, also is now saying, look, we need to make it a statutory duty. So that you see, it is growing. And also, like Siri had said, every candidate who believes in his onion would be able, very soon, will not be able to run away from debates.
Yes.
And debate will be opportunity for you, for Nigerians, to judge you and then determine if truly you perform well. And also, I also would say that yes, there are some people who are very good debaters. They talk fluently, eloquently, but when it comes to the nitty-gritty, it is difficult. Implementation of the policy, it is difficult for them. But also, at some point, that's why for Nigeria it is good. A lot of candidates, you find out that they are not just coming on board for the first time. They probably had worked somewhere. And so you're going to have precedent. You're going to go, people are going to look back. Where are you coming from?
Yeah.
What did you do?
What have you done
Exactly,
before?
exactly.
What are your achievements?
Exactly.
To believe that what you're saying now at the
can do
debate. So you can come with fantastic rhetorics, but people will see through the line to say, look, where you're coming from, you were not this good. But you're a smooth talker, but you were not this good. So we're gradually getting there. And so the people who feel, so look, our debates don't win election, that might just be deceiving themselves, because very soon you discover,
tide is changing.
you'll be shocked that, somebody who everybody had thought was, the best candidate, he comes for a debate and his supporters will like, oh, no, this man fall our hand. And that might shift, support
Can I
opinion
just
too.
add something? I was in my hometown in Okreka in Rivers State 2 weeks ago. And my classmate who is running for House of Assembly on SDP platform said he wants all those contesting to represent Okreka in the Rivers House of Assembly to come to an open debate. So people are gradually seeing that if you think you can do it, come and tell us how you want. So if even people who are running for House of Assembly are saying that they want to debate, I think that very soon it will permeate properly. A complete leader, I will say, a complete leader should have courage, should have character, should have charisma, and you cannot take away his ability to convince people from the works. So it's important.
We have to leave it like that. I want to thank you, Cyril Abaku, for being our guest today on Standpoint, and my good friend, Libros Oshoma. Thank
Always
you
my
so
pleasure,
much.
Howard.
And as we're counting down to 2019, we just hope for the best. And
exactly.
Nigerians should come out. 80 million Nigerians, as registered by INEC, must make that vote count so that we decide who will be the next occupant of Aso Rock. And that's it on our packet today. The edition of Standpoint. Thank you so much for joining us. You can remember to watch the repeat edition tomorrow by 7 a.m. I'm Ayodele Ozuba. Bye for now.